and welcome back. Today I wanted to discuss my 2022 year in reading. 2022 was a very good reading year for me. I read 42 books, and I know this isn't as much as other people read, but for me it was a huge deal because I was coming up off of a year-long reading slump. In 2021, I read one book. So yeah, 2022 was a pretty big reading year for me, and I wanted to talk about some of the books that I read, starting with Iron Widow. And this book was the book that definitely got me out of my reading slump. It was so much fun to read, it was just so interesting, and the plot was just a little crazy, if I'm honest. So in this book, we have a young girl who decides to become a concubine pilot. And what is a concubine pilot? So in this world, we have mecha, and these mecha are piloted by one boy and one girl. The boy is known as the pilot, and the girl is known as the concubine pilot. And the boy uses the girl's life essence to pilot the mecha, and because he uses her life essence, she has the very strong potential of dying, which is what happens to our main character's sister. This is an alternate timeline, alternate history version of Wu Zetian, an Chinese empress. She becomes known as the Iron Widow because when she pilots a mecha with her co-pilot, she ends up killing him. And she's known as the Iron Widow from then on, and she goes through a lot of interesting trials and tribulations, and yeah, she's a really interesting character, and she really makes some very interesting decisions throughout this book. The love interest in this book is also very interesting. There's a love triangle that is very interestingly resolved. And yeah, I really like this book, and I really credit it with getting me out of my reading slump. I didn't think I could get out of my reading slump without it. The next book I'd like to talk about is Truth of the Divine. This is the second book in the Nomena Cycle Chronicles series. And this continues on where the first book left off. This series is a first contact with aliens, and it's not very lighthearted at all. It's pretty dark, and if you are able to deal with themes of suicide, suicidal ideation, PTSD, things of that nature, then I would highly suggest both of these books. I think it's a really, really interesting take on first contact with aliens, and I highly recommend it. The third book I want to talk about is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and this book was significant because this is the first V.E. Schwab book I've ever read, and I fell in love with the writing style. Her writing is just so lyrical and beautiful. I really love this book. It takes place in the 1700s. We have Addie, who wants to live a life that's different from getting married and having children, so she strikes up a deal with a demon who is strongly hinted at to be the devil, and she asks for a remarkable life. She asks for not a remarkable life, she asks for the ability to not die, basically. And he grants this wish to her, but it's double-edged because she gets to live forever, but no one will remember her. And the story follows her to present day when she meets someone who can remember her. And from there on out, their story continues, and it becomes pretty interesting. I really like this book, and I decided to read Gallant by V.E. Schwab right after this, and unfortunately, while the writing was just as lyrical and beautiful, I didn't like it as much as this. It felt like a middle grade that was masquerading as a YA. So I'm interested in trying out more V.E. Schwab, but I'm kind of apprehensive. I've read a little bit of, oh, I forget the name. I've forgotten the name. But it's the one where there's something violent. The Savage Song. There we go. The Savage Song. I read a little bit of that, and I thought the premise was interesting. So I think I'll pick that up and continue with that. But I'm really interested in reading more by V.E. Schwab. The next book I want to talk about is Loveless. And this book is by Alice Oseman, the creator of Heartstopper. And this book was just very important to me as an ace person. This is a YA coming-of-age story of a girl who is asexual and aromantic, and I just found it really relatable and really affirming to read. It was really cute, and there is a side story, a side love story that's also very cute and very romantic, so I thought this was really great, and it meant a lot to me. The next book I want to talk about is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and I was not a romance reader before 2022. This is my first romance novel, and what a romance novel. It was excellent. This is the Illumicrate edition, the special edition. I believe it's still available right now. It's got the custom cover and the inside artwork, which is a little spicy, and custom cover artwork. So if you're interested in this, I believe it's still available. But yeah, the banter in this book between the two main characters is just absolutely wonderful. We have the son of the first female president of the United States who falls in love with the Prince of England, which is a very, very funny premise. And I think this was a really fun book. The the side characters were all wonderful and really fleshed out, and just everyone felt like a little family, and I was very invested in all of their stories, and this is just an excellent romance. It was a ton of fun, and I really recommend it. The next book I want to talk about is The Charm Offensive. This is another romance by Alison Cochrane, and I read this shortly after I read Red, White, and Royal Blue, and this almost tops Red, White, and Royal Blue for me as a perfect romance. I just kept thinking as I was reading it, this is so romantic, like I was crying as I was reading it. I couldn't stop crying because it was just so romantic. We have Dev, who works on the set of a Bachelor-like reality TV show, but it's royalty themed, so the Bachelor is a prince and all the contestants are princesses. And he is really invested in the idea of this reality show. He truly believes that it helps people find love. And one day during the most recent season, they get a contestant named Charlie who is everything but the perfect prince. He is awkward, he is shy, he is practically terrified of the princesses, and they don't know what to make of him. But slowly they open up to each other, and it becomes more than just a producer-contestant relationship. And this book really delved into mental illness and like depression and OCD, and learning about the ugly sides of each other and things like that. And it was it was a very deep love story, and I just thought that it was very beautiful, and I really loved Alison Cochrane's writing, so I highly recommend this. I think it was really cute. It's also, despite it getting deep into mental illness, OCD, etc., just really cute. It's really adorable, and it is kind of a lighthearted read as well. I highly recommend it. I think it's a great romance. The next book I want to talk about is The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake, and I still can't tell if I love this book or hate this book. I have strong feelings both ways. This book is about 6 young people who are vying to be the caretakers of the Library of Alexandria, which it turns out didn't actually burn down. It just kind of whooped and disappeared, and now it moves from nation to nation, and in the course of this book, it is in England. So we have these 6 young people who are vying to be caretakers, and they're working with each other grudgingly to do this. They are all pretty highly unlikable, but I liked them in spite of that. Each of their viewpoints is very strong and very unique. I thought that this book had a lot of action and a lot of deep character work that I felt was really wonderful, and the last quarter really brought me back with a twist. So I have the sequel on deck to read for 2023, and I'm pretty excited to do so. Yeah, I guess I would say this is like a 3 stars for me, because I neither loved it nor hated it, but interested enough to continue. I hope that she redeems herself with the sequel. Yeah. The next book I want to talk about is A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk, and I wanted to talk about this book because it kind of rekindled my love for fantasy. This is an historical fantasy where the magic system is really unique and interesting. It's called Cradling, and I picture it as because the main character uses a string. So I kind of picture it as different permutations of like Cat's Cradle, which doesn't seem like it would be very efficient for a magic system, but it works within this book. We have our main character, Robin, who has no business being in the world of magic. He's just your regular everyday human, and he gets hurled into the world of magic, and he gets cursed, and then he has to work with this guy he can't stand to figure out what the curse is and why he's cursed, and there's a hidden magical object, and there's a missing person, and just all sorts of shenanigans, and this book was just a ton of fun. There's also an enemies to lovers romance in here that is just really good. I thought this book was really fun, really great, and it did the opposite of put me in a reading slump. Like, I want to read more because of this book. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It was one of my faves last year. The next book I want to talk about is Kiss Her Once for Me, also by Alison Cochrane. This is a sapphic romance that takes place during the holidays, and it was quite different from the Charm Offensive. It still delved into deep topics like failure. Yeah, mostly failure. There was a deep theme of failure throughout the book, and dealing with failure and coming to terms with failure and realizing that maybe you haven't failed at all. But it's a really great book where we have our main character who meets a woman one year at Christmas, and they have a sort of magical night together, and they sort of lose touch after that night, and then later on, a year later actually, when her life has completely changed, she ends up taking the offer of a marriage of convenience with the landlord of the coffee shop that she works at. So she enters into this marriage of convenience contract with him, and part of it is that she has to spend the holidays with his family up in their cabin, And it turns out that this landlord's sister is the girl she met that year before Christmas that she spent the magical night with. So yeah, shenanigans ensue, and it was just really sweet and really cozy, holiday vibesy, and I really loved it because of its themes of explorations of failure. And Alison Cochrane is fast becoming one of my favorite authors. I can't wait for her to come out with something new because I know it's going to be great. 2022 was also the year that I finally read the Shadow and Bone trilogy. This is a box set that I got. It's nothing special, there are 3 paperbacks in here. But this was my first time reading anything by Leigh Bardugo. And I have to say, I am really excited to read more by her. I have Six of Crows on deck for this year, and I am really excited to break into that. I want to read Ninth House by her as well. I saw on Illumicrate that there is going to be a special edition bundle of Ninth House and Hellbent, and I'm eyeing it really closely because I think I'm gonna want to buy that. Goodbye, money. Yeah. I am grateful to have found the joy that is Leigh Bardugo's writing and Leigh Bardugo's Grishaverse. I really enjoyed all 3 of these books, and I am excited to read more by her. It's always great discovering a new author and having them kind of go beyond your expectations. So yeah, that's my 2022 year in review. I know it's not as much books as other people read, but for me it was a pretty significant amount, and the books that I've talked about were really special to me. I hope that for 2023 I can continue at this momentum and keep reading. My Goodreads goal for this year is 50 books, which is the first time that I've set a goal like that in a long time. Again, referencing 2021, my goal that year was 5 books and I read 1. My goal for 2022 was also 5 books, but I got up to 42, significantly beyond what I thought I was going to be able to do. So I'm proud of myself. Yeah, here's looking forward to 2023. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.